Hello student, welcome to EPG Pathsala. I am Dr. Ajit Jaswal from Department of Anthropology, Pondicherry University, Puducherry. Today we are going to discuss about a module entitled Geological Time Scale under paper Biological and Physical Anthropology. Dear, let's see what we are going to learn from this module. We are going to learn about what is geological time scale. What are the different subdivisions of geological time scale? How the environment change with geological time? How Earth change from its origin with geological time? How life forms change since its origin? Okay, let me give you a very glimpse of introductory information about geological time scale. Geological time scale is a system of organizing the earth history into the natural eras, period and epoch. According to the geological time scale, the estimated age of the earth where we are living is about 4.6 billion years. The geological time was measured from the information collected by the geologist from the rock sample and also from the fossil evidence, and then sequencing them in a chronological order through time. Later on, with the discovery of absolute dating technique, through that we will find the exact period somewhat, geologists have been able to assign absolute age in years to the subdivision of a geological time scale. According to the geological time scale, the time period since the origin of Earth take place can be divided into four major subdivisions. These are Hadean, Archean, Proterozoic and Phanerozoic. The first three, that is Hadean, Archean and Proterozoic, are collectively known as Precambrian period. Let's discuss about the Precambrian Earth and Precambrian life. The earliest episode of geological time in Earth history is termed as Precambrian Eon. It was started with the formation of Earth since 4600 million years ago and continue up to the Cambrian, that is about 545 million years ago. There are three subdivisions of Precambrian Eon, as I already told you, namely Hadean, Archean and Proterozoic. The duration of Hadean is 4600 million years ago to 4000 million years ago, whereas the duration of Archean is about 4000 million years ago to 2500 million years ago, and Proterozoic, it is about from the continuation of 2500 million years ago to 545 million years ago. The Archean Eon is again subdivided into four eras called as New Archean, Mesoarchean, Paleoarchean and Eoarchean. The New Archean, the duration of New Archean is 2800 million years ago to 2500 million years ago, whereas that of Mesoarchean is 3200 million years ago to 2800 million years ago, and Paleo, that is Paleoarchean, it is from 3600 million years ago to 32 million years ago. Similarly, Eoarchean, it is from 4000 years to 3600 million years ago. So, the Proterozoic Eon is further subdivided into three important subparts: Neo-Proterozoic, Mesoproterozoic and Paleoproterozoic. As the term Neo itself, Neo means new, Meso means in between, Paleo means primitive. So, the Paleoproterozoic start from 2500 million years ago and it continue up to 1600 million years ago. Meso start from 1600 million years ago and continue for up to 1000 million years ago. And Neo, what is called Neo-Proterozoic or New Proterozoic, it start from 1000 million years ago and continue till 545 million years ago. Whereas in the case of Neo-Proterozoic, this particular phase is again subdivided into two particular subdivided region or period called as Riparian and Vendian. The Riparian is from 1000 million years ago to 600 million years ago. Similarly, the Vendian is from 600 million years ago to 545 million years ago. The Archean and Proterozoic subdivision of the Precambrian are dated and identified on the basis of absolute dating of rock samples belonging to this eon. This figure reflects the geological time scale with major geological and biological events that took place along with time. The earliest epoch of geological time in Earth history, it is called as Precambrian. This is divided into number of other subperiods like Hadean, Archean, Proterozoic. The Archean Eon is subdivided into four eras called as Neo-Archean, Mesoarchean, Paleoarchean, and so on. Similarly, the Proterozoic era eon is also further subdivided. In the initial stage, the life was found to be either primitive in nature or lifeless in nature. That condition we have seen in the Precambrian period. But later on, we have seen the emergence of primitive life in the form of single-cell animals and later developing into the complex form like amoeba, and later on development of all the other invertebrates in the form of poriferans, coelentrates, annelids, arthropods, and so on. We have seen the evidence of evolution even in the case of late phase of Paleozoic with the emergence of vertebrate-like animals. And ultimately at the end of Cenozoic, we have seen a complete evolution of well-developed mammalian characteristics in the form of primates like man. In its initial stage during Hadean, Earth was homogeneous, that is, it was not differentiated in core, mantle, and crust. By the beginning, that is about 4000 million years of Archean Eon, several granitic continental nuclei were present. Once it differentiated after millions of years, internal heat was responsible for the movement of plate through plate tectonic condition. However, during the middle Proterozoic Eon, these landmasses were assembling to form a supercontinent. The overall environment was uninhabitable because atmosphere lacked free oxygen and there was no ozone layer. Thus, the ultraviolet radiation was intense. Climate were often very hot, with several intervals of glaciation. At the later part of Hadean surface, water began to accumulate and by the early Archean oceans was present. So overall, the environmental condition during this time was uninhabitable as they lacked proper free oxygens, and also there was no ozone layer that protect the ultraviolet radiation that harms them a lot. In this we have seen a two important figure. First figure represents the earth when the earth is about 650 million years old, and the figure 3 represents the earth during the Cambrian period. In these two figures, we have seen the movement of different plates and ultimately development of altogether the different continents that we have seen today. The movement is very specific in nature and it's related to the climatic changes that took place during that time, like development of conversion of the big planet called Pangaea into a two great land masses called as Laurasia and Gondwana. The Laurasia, which lies in the northern part of the globe, and the Gondwana, which lies in the southern part of the globe, further undergoes several plate tectonic movement based on the attraction and repulsion method, and we ultimately find development of several specific continents along with sea and land level masses differences. It was early in the Archean that the life first appeared on Earth. The first single-cell prokaryotic bacteria called microfossil was dated 3,500 million years ago and came from the Archean Eon. Eukaryote was appeared during early Proterozoic Eon. The first fossil evidence of multi-celled flora and fauna like algae and worm were came from the late Proterozoic Eon. All known Proterozoic animals were soft-bodied, but there were some indication that the earliest stage in the origin of skeleton were underway. Phanerozoic Earth and life. The Phanerozoic Eon is the fourth and the current eon in geologic time, running from the end of the Proterozoic Eon, that is 545 million years ago, to the present day. The Phanerozoic Eon is subdivided into 3 eras, namely Paleozoic, Mesozoic, and Cenozoic. Paleozoic Era. Paleozoic Era was the first era of a Phanerozoic Eon and continued from 545 million years ago to 245 million years ago. The major geological event in the Paleozoic Era was the formation of the supercontinent Pangaea. Animals with skeleton were first appeared at the beginning of the Paleozoic Era. Paleozoic rocks contain a variety of economically important minerals. The Paleozoic Era is divided into 6 periods, namely Cambrian, Ordovician, Silurian, Devonian, Carboniferous, and Permian. However, the Carboniferous is further divided into the Mississippian and Pennsylvanian period. Now let's discuss about the Cambrian period. The Cambrian was lasted from approximately 545 to 505 million years ago. This period was played an important role in the history of life on Earth. With the advent of multicellular organisms and the proliferation of over 100 different phyla, this event was known as the Cambrian explosion. The Cambrian was marked by a transition interval between icehouse and greenhouse climatic condition. Invertebrates with hard parts were first appeared in the earlier part of the Cambrian period. During this period, many new forms of algae were also appeared and diversified. Earliest vertebrate jawless fish called ostracoderm was first appeared at the end of the Cambrian period. Ordovician period. Ordovician is the second period of the Paleozoic era, lasted for 505 to 438 million years ago. The climate of the early and middle Ordovician was mild warm, with high humidity in the atmosphere. However, the later part of the Ordovician was characterized by glaciation. One of the most important features of the Ordovician period was the colonization of the land. As for the first time in the early history, land plant were appeared in Ordovician. So Ordovician is characterized with high humidity in the atmosphere, glaciation, and land plant. The Silurian period. The Silurian was extended from 438 million years ago to 408 million years ago. The climate of Silurian period was cold at the beginning, but toward the end it was warm to hot. Formation of larger Laurasia continent take place. With the formation of larger Laurasia continent, vascular land plant and coral reef make their first appearance during the Middle Silurian. Silurian was also significant for the evolution of fish. Fishes were becomes progressively more abundant during the period, and first jawfish was evolved during Silurian. Next is Devonian. The Devonian period. The Devonian period dated between 408 million years ago to about 360 million years ago, and marked by diversification of vertebrate. There were three major continental masses during Devonian period, that is, North America and Europe. They sat together near the equator, and a supercontinent consisting of South America, Africa, Antarctica, India, and Australia at the southern hemisphere. The first flowerless seed plant, that is gymnosperm, were appeared at the late Devonian period. The evolution of the largest reef ecosystem in Earth history was also occurred during Devonian period. In Devonian period, amphibians were first appeared in the fossil record during the Devonian. The Devonian is commonly known as the Age of Fish because all major fish groups were present during this period. Both cartilaginous fishes called as chondrochythis and bony fishes called as osteochythis first evolved during Devonian. This period also shows the emergence of first flowerless seed plant, that is gymnosperm. So Devonian period can be highlighted by the diversification of fishes, first appearance of amphibians, development of gymnosperm, and plate tectonic movement where appearance of three major continent masses occurred. The Carboniferous period. The Carboniferous period was lasted from about 360 to 286 million years ago during the late Paleozoic Era. The majority of the Earth known coal deposits were belongs to this period. The Carboniferous period is subdivided into the Mississippian period, dated about 360 to 320 million years ago, early Carboniferous and characterized by mostly limestone layers, and Pennsylvania, dated about 320 to 286 million years ago, called as late Carboniferous and characterized by coal-bearing layer. The temperature during the Carboniferous was mild and uniform. The major geological changes of the Carboniferous period was the formation of supercontinent Pangaea due to the collision of Laurasia and Gondwana. The first land snail, an insect with wings, were appeared, flourished and radiated during this period. One of the most important evolutionary features of the period was the evolution of amniotic egg, which gave the ancestor of bird and reptiles the ability to lay eggs on land. Reptiles were made their appearance for the first time during the Mississippian. During Pennsylvanian period, amphibians were abundant and diversified widely. So the Carboniferous period marked by the appearance of ancestor of birds and reptiles, development, diversification and development of amphibian in a full-fledged fashion, appearance of a first time of reptiles, and evolution of amniotic egg. The Carboniferous period continued with the Permian period. The Permian period was the last period of the Paleozoic era, lasting from approximately 286 million years ago to 245 million years ago. During Permian period, formation of Pangaea was completed. Beginning of Permian was marked by glaciation. By the end of the Middle Permian, there was no evidence of glaciation. Life in the Permian seas, ocean were similar to those of Carboniferous period. So the Permian period is altogether is just a continuation of the Carboniferous period, which shows both glaciation and a non-glaciation period and the formation of Pangaea. Life in the Permian seas and oceans were similar to the Carboniferous period. Let's discuss about the Mesozoic era. The Mesozoic era was the second geological era of the Phanerozoic Eon. The Mesozoic era continued about from 245 million years ago to 66 million years ago. Mesozoic rocks contain a variety of valuable mineral resources, including coal, petroleum, uranium, gold, and copper. The Mesozoic era is divided into three time periods, namely the Triassic, the Jurassic, and the Cretaceous. The Triassic lasts for about 245 to 208 million years ago, whereas Jurassic lasts for about 208 to 144 million years ago, and the Cretaceous is about 144 to 66 million years ago. As we have already discussed that Mesozoic era is divided into Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous period, let's discuss about the Triassic period then Jurassic period. The Triassic period, which lasts for about 245 to 208 million years ago, was the oldest period of Mesozoic era. The major geological event of the Triassic period was the beginning of the fragmentation of Pangaea supercontinent to form Gondwana, that is South America, Africa, India, Antarctica and Australia in the south, and Laurasia, that is North America and Eurasia in the north. Triassic climate was warm, temperate to tropical. For the first time, palm-like gymnosperm plant made their appearance. Mammals for the first time made their appearance during the Triassic period. Dinosaurs, both giant quadrupeds, herbivorous and bipedal carnivorous, were evolved during the late Triassic period. Late Triassic was also marked by the appearance of flying reptiles called pterosaurs. Jurassic period. The Jurassic period continued from 208 million years ago to 144 million years ago in the Mesozoic era. The major geological event of the Jurassic period was the breakdown of Gondwana continent, which resulted in the separation of Antarctica, India and Australia from the South America and Africa. Later on, India broke away from the landmass containing Antarctica and Australia and began to move northward. This was followed by separation of South America and Africa at the late Jurassic period. With regard to the climate, the mild Triassic climate was continued during the Jurassic period. During the Jurassic period, land fauna was dominated by dinosaurs. Giant quadruped herbivorous dinosaurs were abundant. The first bird, including the Archaeopteryx, were also evolved during this period. Faunas in the seas, including giant marine crocodiles and modern-looking shark and rays, were also evolved during the Jurassic period. Next period is the Cretaceous period. The last period of the Mesozoic era was the Cretaceous period and continued from 144 million years ago to 66 million years ago. The important geological event of the Cretaceous period was the separation of Australia and Antarctica continental mass at the later part of Cretaceous, and by that time Indian continental mass nearly reached the equator. South America, Africa and Greenland were also become independent land mass by the end of Cretaceous period. The climate of the Cretaceous period remained equable, but there was marked differences between north and south. One of the most important incidents in terrestrial life of floral evolution was the appearance of the first flowering plant during Cretaceous period. There was another mass extinction at the end of the Cretaceous period, which resulted in the extinction of dinosaurs along with majorities of other species of that time. Now let's discuss about the most recent era called Cenozoic Era. Cenozoic Era is the most recent of the Phanerozoic Eon, and we all are living in this era. The current era is called as Cenozoic Era. The Cenozoic Era starts from 66 million years ago to the present condition. Till today it is all called as Cenozoic Era. And this era is divided into three periods. One is called as Paleogene, second is Neogene, and the Quaternary one. The Paleogene and Neogene is sometimes it is called as Tertiary also. So the duration of Paleogene is start from 66, that is start of Cenozoic, and it continue up to 23.7 million years. That's why it is called as Paleo means primitive gene. Whereas the second one immediately following this is the Neogene, means new gene. Neo means new. New gene, it start from 23.7 million years, that is end of the Paleo, to 1.6 million years old. And the Quaternary, after the following this is the Quaternary period, that is the 1.9 million year to the present condition. I already told you the Paleogene and the Neogene means primitive and new, part of the Tertiary. They are previously called as Tertiary period. There was not as such a term called as Paleo and Neo. So the Paleogene is again subdivided into three epochs, namely again Paleocene, Eocene and Oligocene. Paleocene start from 66 million years ago to 57.8 million years ago. Whereas the Eocene, it start from 57.8 million years ago to 36.6 million years ago. Following this is the Oligocene, which start at 36.6 million years ago and it continued till 23.7 million years ago. Similarly, like Paleogene, Neogene is again subdivided into two important epochs where several changes take place. Even what is called the evolution of man, or clear-cut evidence of evolution of man, we will see from the Neogene only. That is Miocene and Pliocene. The Miocene start at 23.7 million years ago and continue up to 5.3 million years ago. where the Pliocene, which is immediately after Miocene, it start at 5.3 million year ago and it continue up to 1.6 million year ago. The period, what we call it later on called as the Quaternary is again subdivided into two main epochs, the continuation of the Pliocene, that is Pleistocene and Holocene. The Pleistocene period start at 1.6 million year ago and it continue up to 0.01 million year ago, means very recent, not too far away. And after that is the Holocene. Holocene, it is also called as a recent period, current period, present period. It start immediately after the end of the Pleistocene start the Holocene, a recent period, from 0.01 million year ago to the present condition where we all are sitting and all together studying this module. The Paleogene period, the Paleocene epoch. The Paleocene epoch is the first epoch of the Paleogene period, which was lasted from 66 to 57.8 million years ago. The early Paleocene was cooler and drier than the preceding Cretaceous. However, the climate was changed and became warm and humid toward the end of Paleogene. Paleocene were marked by the development of modern plant species and diversification of the flowering plant. During the Paleocene epoch, small carnivorous mammals with short heavy limbs were made their first appearance. The primates, especially prosimians, were also evolved during Paleocene. So Paleocene is marked by the cooler and drier climate. It was marked by the development of modern plant species and diversification of flowering plant, along with the first appearance of carnivorous mammals and primates prosimians. The Eocene epoch. The Eocene is the second epoch of the Paleogene period. The Eocene was continued from 57.8 million years ago to 36.6 million years ago. During the early Eocene, Antarctica and Australia, as well as Asia, North America and Europe were connected through land mass. But later on during Eocene, Antarctica and Australia was started to separate. The Eocene was also marked by the formation of Himalayas and Alps, mountain Alps. The largest terrestrial mammal like elephant was evolved for the first time during the Eocene. The first evidence indicating that whales were also first appeared during the early Eocene. During the end of Eocene epoch, the anthropoids, that is higher primates, were evolved from a prosimian lineage. So the Eocene epoch, which is marked by the separation of Australia and Antarctica, were also lead to the formation of, indicating the formation of Himalayan and Alps-like mountain, along with the appearance of elephant, whale-like mammalia, and the development of higher apes were evolved from the primitive primate, that is prosimian. Figure number 13 shows the figure of skeletal figure of a carnivorous mammal of Oligocene period. This particular mammal shows several features which bring them close to the hominid life of evolutions, or they are known to be the ancestor of human. Their skeletal feature is somewhat indicating the evolution of both Old World and New World monkey. The Oligocene epoch. The Oligocene epoch was last epoch of Paleogene period and lasted from about 36.6 to 23.7 million years ago. The cold climate of the later part of the Eocene was prevalent throughout the Oligocene epoch. During this epoch, both the toothed whale and the baleen whale were evolved. On land, mammals like horses, deer, camel, elephant, cats, dogs, and earlier primates were began to dominate during Oligocene. Oligocene epoch was also marked by the evolution of both Old World monkey and New World monkey. So this particular period sees the climatic condition which is cold in nature, and there is evolution of the whale in both type of whale, both tooth and baleen whale, and several different varieties of mammals were found during this period, during this epoch. We have also evidence of the evolution of both Old World and New World monkey during this particular epoch. The Neogene period. First one is the Miocene epoch. The Miocene is the first epoch of Neogene period, lasted for about 23.7 to 5.3 million years ago, and the climate was comparatively warmer than the Oligocene epoch. Artiodactylus, including cattle, goats, bison, and many species of antelopes, were made their first appearance during the Miocene. The hominoids, including apes and humans, were probably diverged from Old World monkey at the beginning of Miocene epoch. By the end of Miocene, 95% of the modern seed plant families were existed. Figure 14 shows the Miocene mammals. These mammals have almost all the characteristics of Old World monkey, and this particular mammals was found during Miocene period, which lasted for about 23.7 to 5.7 million years ago. During this period, the climate was warmer than the earlier period. The Pliocene epoch. The Pliocene epoch was continued from 5.3 million years ago to 1.6 million years ago, and was characterized by cold climate after the warmer Miocene epoch. The change in climate from warmer to cold and dry during Pliocene resulted in the replacement of many forests by grassland. The major geological event of the Miocene epoch was the joining of the tectonic plate of North and South America. Moreover, during this epoch, the tectonic plate of India and Asia was also collided, which resulted in the formation of Himalayas. Pliocene epoch also played an important role in human evolution because during this time some apes came down from the trees and started to exist on the plains in Africa. Australopithecus was probably first evolved in the late Pliocene. Next is the Quaternary period. The Quaternary period, there is an epoch called the Pleistocene epoch. The Pleistocene epoch, also called the Ice Age, was started 1.6 million years ago and ended about 10,000 years ago. During Pleistocene epoch, several intervals of widespread continental glaciation took place, which covered about 30% of the Earth's land surface and separated by several warmer interglacial periods. Most of the present-day mammals were evolved by Pleistocene epoch. However, many large mammals were become extinct at the end of the Pleistocene. The Pleistocene was marked by the evolution and expansion of Homo sapiens, and by the end of the Pleistocene, humans dispersed all over the world. Next is the Holocene epoch. The Holocene epoch is the name given to the last 10,000 years of the early Earth's history, which was started since the end of the last major glacial epoch or the Pleistocene epoch. Holocene climate has been fairly stable with a relatively warm period. Animal and plant life have not evolved much during the Holocene epoch, but there have been major shifts in the distribution of plants and animals. Holocene is marked by the development of human knowledge, technology, and civilization. So now, let's try to revise the important emerging point of the geological time scale. As I already discussed about this, that geological time scale is a system of organizing the Earth's history into natural eras, period, further into epoch. The earliest episode of geological time in Earth history is termed as Precambrian, when the life was very primitive. Maybe it is altogether Archean form also. Later on, the Cenozoic Eon is the fourth and the current eon in the geological time, running from the end of the Proterozoic Eon, that is from 545 million years ago, to the present day. The Cenozoic Eon is subdivided into three important eras, that is Paleozoic, Mesozoic and Cenozoic. Paleo means primitive, Meso means it lies between the Paleo and Cenozoic, and Ceno is the current particular eras. The Paleozoic era is divided into 6 periods, namely Cambrian, Ordovician, Silurian, Devonian, Carboniferous and Permian. Each and every period is named according to the several evolutionary changes that we have seen, not only in flora and fauna but also the climatic changes. We have seen the continuous movement of the different continents because of plate tectonic movement and ultimately formation of some big land masses or big water masses. However, Carboniferous period, which lies just before Permian, is further subdivided into Mississippian and Pennsylvanian period because of the two different specific characteristic features. Whereas in the Mesozoic era, this is divided into 3 time periods. That is Triassic, Jurassic and Cretaceous. Triassic is altogether start from 245 million years ago, continue up to 208 million years ago. Jurassic immediately after Triassic, it starts from 208 million years ago to 144 million years ago. And the Cretaceous, which lies immediately after Jurassic, it is start from 144 million years ago to 66 million years ago. The important characteristic feature of this particular era is during that period, the reptiles were dominated and full-fledged acquiring great part of the earth. That's why Mesozoic is also called as age of reptiles. We must have heard about the movie called Jurassic Park. We have seen the development, proliferation and as well as expansion of dinosaurs. That particular period is nothing just Mesozoic era. Immediately after the Mesozoic era is the Cenozoic era. The Cenozoic era is the most recent of the Phanerozoic Eon, and we all are living in this era. The Cenozoic, which start at around 66 million years ago and continue till the present day, now also we can call it as a Cenozoic period, is divided into 3 periods called as Paleogene, Neogene and the Quaternary. The Paleogene and the Neogene period were previously they called as a tertiary period, and later on we call it as a Quaternary period immediately after the tertiary one. The Paleogene is again subdivided into 3 epochs, namely Paleogene, Eocene and Oligocene. The Paleocene, Eocene and Oligocenes, they have a special features, and we have seen a continuous changes in the development of living creatures, especially from vertebrate line to the invertebrate line to the vertebrate line, and ultimately within the vertebrate we have seen the development of especially reptiles, birds and mammals. The new gene is subdivided into two epochs, namely Miocene and Pliocene, which is altogether a period or age of mammals, age of primate. In fact, better call it a age of primate. We have seen most of the evolutionary, phylogenetic, or what is called primitive as well as modern man during this Miocene and Pliocene period. The Quaternary period is also subdivided into two epochs, namely Pleistocene and Recent. Thank you.